Where is the Trews? I want the Trews right now. Here is the Trews, but I want the Trews previously. You can't have the Trews prior to the moment of its conception. Here is some Trews. Dum 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 dum. Dum. Things that grow naturally on the planet. Better than sugary snacks and fags. Dum. Second generation of fame propagated. Dum. Former child becomes attractive adult. Ooh, arc at Emma. Harry Potter beauty, Emma Watson, forgets to give us a wave last night at the UK. Did you forget to give us a wave? That's one of our proudest traditions. Wave. Doesn't matter where you look, you'll be looking at a child reaching womanhood. Well, she's probably in her 20s now, isn't she? But is the story. The story is she's beautiful, yes, but the context is she was previously a child. So that I think there's an inherent salaciousness in the coverage of Emma Watson, because I think her womanhood is comparative to her childhood always. I think she's regarded differently. Interesting though, look, Emma walks on water. She is being used as a deity. She's represented as a deity. She's spoken of in the language of divinity and deification, because we live in a culture stripped of belief, and we need belief. We need things to believe in. We need, in the infinite space, to have coordinate points to direct our consciousness. Otherwise there's an unbearable nihilism to it all. I'm George Jobsborne. Work for all. Chancellor George Osborne yesterday unveiled his aim to create full employment in the UK, but was blasted for failing to say how. There will be full employment. How? I don't know, you can't expect me to answer that. He set a target for Britain to have the highest employment rate in the G7 group of rich countries by 2020. There shouldn't be a G7 group of rich countries. Hello. We're the G7 group of rich countries. Excuse me, mister, can we come and just get a couple of farthings? No, get out, you absolutely smell. What's that on your sandals? Why are you even wearing sandals to our rich countries meeting? To do that, 900,000 new jobs would need to be created. Probably could have full employment, but it would need such a radical realignment of the economy that it's scarcely worth thinking about. It is worth thinking about, it just won't be outlined in the pages of a newspaper. This is 100% dependent on things staying the same. Pandas, on the other hand, let them all die. Oh, can we keep one? No, it's time to let pandas die out. Okay, is it nature-loving? Chris Packham, we all remember him from when we were kids, claimed he would eat the last panda if he could use all the money spent on their conservation on more sensible things. I think some of them are gay and I'd like to stamp them out. No, he just says that there is a disproportionate interest in the pandas, perhaps because I suppose they're so iconic and beautiful. Some say our love of animals is from our indigenous totemic conditions, like when we lived more tribal lives in harmony with nature. Like in our country, England, we would worship things like the stag. That's why you get White Hart Lane. Or we'd worship horses or oak trees or rivers, because we knew our life was integrally related to the life of other species and the planet ourselves. But as these stories have been forgotten and replaced with stories where we worship individuals, be that Christ or Muhammad or indeed Emma Watson, we start to see our own individual narrative is more important than a cultural narrative. Individualism and materialism has attuned our consciousness to a frequency of outside things instead of internal things. But we do love animals, that's why we're a nation of dog lovers, because you think about your own relationship with your dog or your cat, there's a simplicity to it, a wordless, beautiful intimacy and simplicity to that, and that, I think, is a way that we can relate to something quieter and calmer and internal, but both internal and external, that there's an interconnectivity between what's in the consciousness of the cat and what's in the consciousness of us, and you can feel that in those moments. And I suppose if you sort of worship the stag, it's a way of recognising that your own life and the stag's life are integrated in the circle of life. Who are ya? Who are ya? Lost tribes in home of the World Cup. Excitement is building in Brazil before the World Cup, but some locals have given no thought to cheering on the home nation's team. A group of tribesmen were pictured yesterday shaking spears at a passing plane. They're not shaking the spears, they're just sort of probably confused. What's actually fucking amazing is that even in this day and age, there's tribes that are completely oblivious to where this whole culture is going on. Like the World Cup, it's happening in their country. They're just like, doesn't mean anything. It's a relevant spectacle. We live here in these woods. This is what we eat. This is where we live. This is what we breathe. We've got a World Cup. What is it? Well, we get 22 people from each country. Yes. They're in a ball. Yes. Then we kick it around. Yes, for 90 minutes. The person who's got in the goal the most times after 90 minutes, they win. And if you win several of these games, you win this thing. And then what? Nothing. So, in a way, this story about who are you? Fucking hell. So rude. So rude. We have to question our values. We have to be aware that we're living in a spectacle, don't we? And that this is holding up a spectacle, a big, daft, bilious spectacle. Vegetables, come on, buy some vegetables. I wonder if they say on the day, you know, we're going to be doing articles where we say you've got to eat 10, like, because all the papers, vegetables, eat vegetables, vegetables, eat vegetables, vegetables, buy vegetables. Do you think they do that? Of course they do. It's all the same thing. It's all the same people. 70% of the British media owned by 3 people. 70% of British print media owned by 3 people. So the interests of those 3 people are in every word. Do eat healthy, eat things that are harmonious with the ecosystem that you are part of course. But it's your fault, you bastards, that we're not getting this veg. BMW, how does that counteract it? Because what's necessary for the car industry to triumph? What kind of practices are necessary for the car industry to triumph? Negligence of the planet. Dr. Oetker chocolate for even better baking. Ha ha ha! Evil Dr. Oetker chocolate. Eat 10 vegetables a day. Shut up! Eat Dr. Oetker chocolate! Vegetables! Eat some vegetables! Oetker chocolate! Vegetables! Oetker chocolate! Vegetables! Oetker chocolate! Right, I know I'll reach that work well. I'll reach that work well, so it might help your brain feel better. Let's see what Krishnamurti's got to say. He's clever as the chap with 3 heads. The problem with fear, says Krishnamurti, is both deep and vast. Let us tackle it from all directions. No, I'm terrified! Fear is thought. Fear is time. We are giving continuity to fear as we are giving continuity to pleasure by thinking. It's very simple. Thought gives continuity to the thing which gave us pleasure and to the thing which caused us pain and fear. I'm afraid of you or death or anything. I think of you or death and perpetuate my fear. And if I can face the thing that frightens me, fear ceases. May I ask, is there such a thing as pure fear, fear by itself? There is no absolute fear. Fear is always of something. Look at it carefully and you will see. All fear, however unconscious, is the result of thought. All fear of the outer, of the inner, is basically the fear of extinction, the fear of not being this or that, or just not existing. We know that all existence is transitory, and yet we crave psychological permanence. And thus craving is the origin of fear. To be free from fear, we must explore to its very roots this idea of permanence. The man without illusions is without fear, which does not make him cynical, but indifferent. Ooh, Krishnamurti, you clever devil. What he's saying, I think, is that we're all worried a bit deep down about like ourselves dying, or our mums dying, or people we love dying, or things changing, a relationship ending, or losing a job. Fear, fear, fear. And these in institutions depend upon our fear to keep us malleable, because if you detach from that fear, then it doesn't really matter if the Sun say you should look at this kid or be afraid of this policy or eat this amount of vegetables, because you sort of think, well, I'm content in who I am right now. Isn't it the obligation of these institutions to give us information that is valuable to us, that helps us on our journey through life? Should that be? If it isn't an obligation, it isn't. It should be an obligation, shouldn't it? That is how it should be run. We know that. So knowledge is action and wisdom. Why don't we inculcate a different system? Someone said to me very recently, we've been told that freedom is the freedom to fulfill our trivial petty desires, but true freedom is freedom from those petty trivial desires. These things, they perpetuate fear here. You're not, eat more veg, but you're not eating enough veg. Desire this woman, she's beautiful, you'd be happier if you had her. And the police are there's a guerrilla war, the police are doing guerrilla war, right? So it's like fear and desire. Double your fear, double your vegetables. Desire, fear, desire. British sniper kills Taliban with 1 bullet. That's sort of boasting and fear. I've done him with 1 punch. I've done the whole Taliban with a 1-inch punch. Pew! And the whole Taliban with them. It's like some liar at school. I was the hardest kid at my old school. I beat up the whole Taliban with 1 bullet. Elderly patients put NHS under strain. Fear. Pensioner searches for his old dancing partner. Pointless sentimentality. Porn and violence on smartphones breeds criminals. Fear, 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 and desire. So they're navigating us away from our divine nature, and well, divine nature, I know it sounds a bit bullshit, but it just means truth. The truth is we're going to die. That is the truths. We're going to die, but that's alright, because we'll be okay if we live harmoniously for the time that we are here. That's alright, we'll be alright. Instead of which, we're trying to constantly make things permanent. We're constantly trying to address a problem that can't be solved. Oh, buy this, buy that, fear this. It's all irrelevant. We have to get in touch with the truth. So that's why we're doing the Trews, to bring us in alignment with truth. That was some Trews, that was some Trews. Just then, that was some Trews, that was some Trews. I just saw a butterfly. It was really beautiful. Dum 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 dum. If you subscribe to this channel, and you'll get more of this stuff.